Good evening, everyone. This is Kara Lovehart, and I am really excited tonight. We are going to have a special guest that I get to interview tonight. I'm very excited about this. And tonight, our guest is Fernando Rojas. He has been working as a massage therapist for over 20 years, and he actually is someone that is working with somatic therapies. So we're going to talk specifically about somatic mindfulness, somatic therapies in general this evening. But a little bit more about Fernando before I bring him on. He has, again, been practicing for 20 years, and something really exciting for him happened this year. For the 2023, he's been an inductee into the Massage Therapy Hall of Fame, which is really wonderful. So congratulations to Fernando for that. And he is a master somatic movement educator and therapist, and also a licensed massage therapist and an instructor, a CE provider for continuing education for massage therapists. He has his PhD from Northumbria University in the UK. And today, again, we're going to introduce you guys, if you're not aware of, somatic therapies. We are open to questions that we can answer any of those at the end. So feel free to engage with us in the chat. Even just say hi and let us know that you're here if you're here live. And even if you're watching the replay, you can absolutely ask some questions as well. So I'm going to bring on Fernando. Hello, Fernando.
Hello. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm really excited to chat with you specifically around this topic, because I know that somatic therapies has been something that's been really interesting and intriguing for me for a long time. But I'm just curious, just to start off, how did you get into this line of work? And, tell us a little bit more about your background if you have anything to share I didn't share.
Sure. The word that comes to mind is meaning, of course. There seems to be something about engaging in action that has a benefit to someone, for someone else, and that gives you a sense of fulfillment. And body work and this type of work in general has that potential. And so for me, it was precisely that.
So we're going to talk about this modality for those out there too who are not licensed massage therapists. I probably should mention that, so that anyone, this is actually like education for anyone, if you're not licensed or if you are. But as far as somatic therapies, like, what is the definition of somatic therapies? What would you, if someone has no idea what that is, tell us a little bit more about what they are and how they compare to what we're normally, experiencing maybe as a massage therapist.
Yes. So this is an important aspect of this. Somatics is a word that was coined something like 3 decades ago, and the word somatic itself really just means of the body. So somatics just pertains to the body, but somatics with an S is a particular type of therapy that uses attention to our relationship with gravity, attention to our sensation, in order to overcome certain things in our bodies that are not working. The key aspect of them is the attention component. This is why the word mindfulness starts to creep in. And so I'm going to say generally somatics, and you may have heard words like somatic experiencing or somatic therapy or somatic psychotherapy. These are therapies that are mostly guided. So you would tell someone, here's a new way that you can sit. Here's a new way that you can get up from this chair. These are things that you can imagine. You can imagine your head is full of helium, and then and really what we're doing is we're using attention to wake up the underlying intelligence of the body to be what it was coded or designed to be. What somatic mindfulness is, or you could call this somatic touch, or you could call this somatic mindfulness body work, is that we're bringing mindful therapeutic touch to the table, literally, right? And so we're bringing touch into this conglomerate of of practices where not only are we inviting the person to imagine a particular way of being, but we're offering sensations through our touch that remind the body of when it was feeling fantastic before, or what it was coded to do initially to be, right? We are coded to, for example, walk, right? And most of us cannot avoid the fact that we are born and eventually we walk. Yeah. So that's sort of like the original, the operating system. And so what we are doing is we're saying through sensations that the body associates with well-being, we're offering the body an opportunity to remind itself of what it should be or what it can be from where it's at. Does that make sense?
Yes. Could you give us an example of what that might look like? Say, when you're working with a client, is it more of a conversation that you're having by your awareness of something that they might not be aware of and helping them bring awareness to a space or to a way they're holding themselves? And how would you guide them?
Yeah. So yes to all of it. And so it's it's a whole thing that can happen and includes one more thing that's important, which is and one of our most esteemed teachers used to say, you gotta have it to give it, right? And so in this work, we become this possibility, or at least we engage in an attitude that says, I am at least curious of what could be, right? Which really is just being mindful. And so if I become mindful and then I put my hands on a part of the body with mindfulness, we often like to say the move or whatever we're doing with our hands is really just a conduit from what my state of being is going through onto this body, who is ready and designed to perceive it. Now, this is science supported, right? This is not woo woo. And so how might that look like? Well, yes, it could be by some conversation, but what we focus on in somatic mindfulness is really actual moves. And so we have this conversation with the subconscious, right? The subconscious aspect of the body, which you could say, if learning to walk is sort of like the operating system, the subconscious is like Microsoft Word working on this on the operating system, which is really all the experiences that we gather. Our body becomes a template to that, because what the subconscious does is that it records all of our experiences so that we can automatically survive really in whichever environment we're in. And so with our moves, with our hands, we're offering sensations that remind the body of what it can be, so that, for example, if a body is holding the experience of having been chased by a tiger, yeah, and and so they survive, and that experience, those of us who are conscious tend to keep, and we keep reliving it, yeah, which is really, you could say that trauma and PTSD and some of these diagnoses are really a big expression of that. So what we're saying to this body is, hey, yes, you had that experience, but here's this new experience, or not a new experience, but an experience that your body is going to recognize, that is in contrast to that experience, so that the body can then place itself in time and space, so that it's not that the other experience gets forgotten, but the other experience is not happening. And so the body does not go into an automatic reaction when a trigger shows up. Make sense?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
I find a lot of the work in with trauma, and with some of the psychotherapists that we work with who specifically work with trauma, we've had a lot of conversations around how powerful somatic based therapies are in conjunction with talk therapy, because the body, like you're saying, the body's remembering, and it's sometimes people are trying to talk their way out of it, and it only sometimes gets them so far when it comes to healing.
Yeah.
And that and that's why I'm so excited that you're going to be coming to work with us at Firefly to teach this, because I think there is a level of that awareness and being able to shift the body back and giving it that cue, that I'm really curious about how that works. And this is something that this modality that you teach can be worked with yourself. It doesn't have to be something that you have to be a licensed practitioner or a massage therapist that would be working with someone else. Could you tell us more about how that would work with, if someone is a therapist, what they will learn, and if they are not, how they can utilize it in their own home use?
Sure. In fact, we have there's an aspect of this work which is really important, which is empowering our clients with the possibility of bringing this with them. And so there's a seminal book called The Body Keeps the Score. I'm sure everybody who works with trauma has heard of it. And really, I'm going to give a very, very basic summary of it, but basically what it says is we offer the body new experiences, right? Because if the body keeps the score and we offer it a new experience, then there's a contrast that happens in there, and the body then can at least has the options to choose, right? I can choose. When you bring consciousness, when you bring attention into it, the body can choose whether to go into the usual, which is reminding myself that the boss is unfair to me, and so I feel it right here, right? Or have the other experience, which is the experience of okay, that experience and you're an expert in it, but here's this other experience, and so once you felt it, we're going to help you remember it. In fact, we're going to help you come up with a code or a keyword for that sensation, which is new to you, so that you can then recall it at a later time, and then at least you have the choice to go one way or the other. And so it's sort of like, if you probably heard of the Pavlov dogs.
Yeah,
right?
and maybe explain that for people who aren't aware of that.
Sure. So you can train, and in the experiment, it's you give the dog a treat, and then you ring a bell, and so the dog begins to associate the ringing of the bell with the treat, and so the dog will start to salivate or slobber when he hears the bell. So the body, what we're doing really is just playing with our subconscious. We're not saying the subconscious is a bad thing. We're saying we're going there, and we're going to use the intelligence that is already there in order to play with it so that we can use it to our advantage. And so we use a keyword so that the body can remember the new sensation that it felt. And it can, with practice, it can contrast and say, this is the one. So I am an expert in the sensations of whiplash from 10 years ago, and I've been carrying that with me, but the body structurally is already healed, but I still bring something with me, and I keep something with me. So you come to our table and you receive another sensation, a different one. And so here's a keyword that you can associate with that, and then ring the bell for yourself. And so the body, once you ask your body, what was that sensation that I felt when I felt lighter, or when I felt less pain? Oh, and then the body will immediately give you the answer, because it's designed to do that. So these things that stay in the body, we don't even look as a bad thing. We're not demonizing trauma or tension. We're just saying this is intelligence. Some people call that maladaptive. No, we call it adaptive intelligence, right? It is the way that the body works, and it is a very intelligent way for the body to work. And with consciousness and with attention, we can go into that intelligence and say, okay, here's the tiger following you, but it's no longer following you. And if I can convince you of that, here's the keyword where you can remember that the tiger is not actually following you. And so
I'm really grateful that you're taking away the shame. There's shame that's associated with that if you call it maladaptive, if you're saying that I'm supposed to be different, even though, what you're saying is the subconscious is doing exactly what it needs to do.
Yes, it is.
As an intelligent system to protect you. And I love that perspective, because I think some people do feel this sense of, I should be able to control my subconscious, or this shame trigger when they are in a space where they don't want to be. And I think that resistance creates more resistance.
Correct. Because you stay in the cycle. Anything that the inner conversation that you're having with your body is what the body is going to respond to, right? And so we're not saying this is bad. We're just saying here's another option,
Yeah.
right? And which is a different thing from saying I need to get rid of this thing, right? There is no such thing of getting rid of anything, right? All of the experiences in our life, they stay with us, yeah. And so what we do is we say here there's more, and here it is here. So it's a gift, yeah. In this way, we empower therapists to offer this to themselves, and we empower our clients to bring this with them. And Ida Rolf used to say, more or less in these words, that our mission as body workers is to make ourselves obsolete by really empowering our clients to
Yeah.
be able to get this for themselves and wake up this intelligence, from the inside out by themselves.
I absolutely agree with that, and I'm so grateful that you shared that, because I think that we do commonly as massage therapists, and even if you are a client and you've had massage before, there is still, and this is not right or wrong, it just is how we perceive. It seems that there's still a mindset of, okay, I have this low back pain or this neck pain for so long, I need really deep pressure, or I need something that there's a perception of what's going to fix it, when
Mhm.
there's sometimes not an awareness of a pattern, a behavior, a trauma, a way we held ourselves when we were insecure in school. And then when we get in that body mindset, if that's triggered unconsciously or not, I find it so fascinating. And I'm grateful that this type of modalities is becoming more wanted and needed by the massage therapy industry and by clientele, that we have some conscious desire, drive to become more aware. I see that trending, and I'm so grateful for that, because I do feel that that's where we get empowerment, not only to give to the clients but personally, so you can learn this type of thing yourself. So are you feeling and seeing that as you've progressed with somatic therapies? I know we want to talk about trigger work a little bit, but have you seen it become more and more trending, that there's more of a openness now for this type of thing, maybe because the body keeps score, or more education and science being out there associated with it?
Well, certainly because of the science, and certainly because there's there is a possibility to empower body workers into having a practice that is actually not hurting them. It is not a mission to change what therapists are doing now. It is a possibility to bring in some principles into whatever the therapist is already doing, that changes a little bit the perspective of how I approach it, right? So and I've said before, something that is not prescriptive, it is more receptive, because and one of our teachers says, we're offering the opportunity of authorship to our client. We're saying, I respect where you are, I am receptive to what's happening, and I am here to offer a possibility. And then the body will decide what it needs to do. And I am not placing either a burden on me or the client that it needs to be anything other than what that body is ready to have. When you offer this, and you offer this to the therapist as well, then it changes a little bit the perspective of how I am communicating with this body, and then my own body as a therapist, since I have to become what I'm trying to offer. Then, in a sense, I'm putting myself first, and so I am reducing the possibility of injury. I am reducing the possibility of burnout. And in this sense, how can it not spread? When you're telling a therapist, yes, you can continue to do 5, 6, 8 sessions if you like in one day, sure, but you don't have to hurt yourself by doing this. Just add a little bit of this, add this same thing that you're doing now, just add this way of doing it instead of changing what you do, right? So it's a different thing. So it's liberating in that sense, because it's not saying, hey, I am here, you're you're this religion and I'm this religion and I want to convert you. No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
here, what that same thing that you're doing, do that. And then for therapists in our classes, yes, there are also new things that you can learn as far as moves, if you want to call them that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that the awareness of not just in the massage industry, but most of the healthcare and caretaking industry, helping industry, there's a lot of burnout. And so I think that anything that we can support ourselves in our through awareness, mindfulness, and some of the techniques you teach to avoid that, so we
Yeah.
can continue to help, is powerful.
Yes.
So
And the beauty of this is that there is science that is, there's 45 years of straight up conventional science supporting mindfulness and mindfulness application as, you know, things that will offer our clients and ourselves actual health, actual benefits, actual things that are tangible, measurable, right? By science, supported by science. I had a question the other day in another, it was a webinar, and someone, I was talking I was going a little deeper into what this work is and the theory of it is. And someone said, how do you put love on a soap note? You know,
oh
how is that going to happen? And I said, well, great question. Here's how, right? And so there is plenty of science, the Heart Math Institute and some other organizations who are doing a lot of work, that talk about brain heart coherence and how certain types of what they call upgraded emotions are actually healthy for you and for your clients. So there's plenty of science. You can use the word love and it will be supported by science, just as in the same way that you would put trigger point on the love note, on the soap note, sorry.
yeah, I love that it's the same language. And I love that 10 years ago, that Heart Math Institute wasn't as well known. And, when I would talk about that, some people they kind of, get like, okay, I don't know what you're
Mhm.
talking about. But I
Sure,
met a
sure.
doctor the other day that started telling me about the Heart Math Institute. And I was
Yeah,
so excited. I was like, yep. I let him just tell me as if I haven't heard of it before because he was so excited. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, this is so great that it's becoming more well known. So
Sure.
I'm
No, and
very
we
happy.
often joke in our workshops, that we're just bringing science to support the woo, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
because it is.
great.
Yeah. So I often like to say that we try to stay 99% science support, yeah, in everything that you could understand as a claim, right? So making a claim, it is science supported, right?
Yeah.
And so the woo is well supported when we're talking about some of these things that we come in. So we're using mindfulness and we're using some other um, some other concepts, but they're all well supported, with many decades of science behind them for sure.
Wonderful. Well, would we briefly be able to talk about what Traeger work is specifically, for those who maybe are not massage therapists as a client, if they've never had that modality, and for the massage therapists who have no idea what that is and how it fits under the umbrella of somatic therapies?
Sure, sure. So Milton Traeger is the person who is responsible for bringing what is now called Traeger work or the Traeger approach into the world, and that was early last century. Um, this is a modality that he developed intuitively, and the way that he talked and some of the things that he said were are now being understood and supported by science. Like what I said before, you gotta have it to give it. So this is something that he used to say a lot, and now there is science that supports that. In fact, there's a researcher in Harvard. Her name is Ellen Langer. She calls that mindfulness contagion. If I said that right, I'm going to mess up some words here. But yes, we become mindful, and people will pick up that and will become more mindful just because of the fact that we are mindful. He, Milton Traeger used to say, he used to call that hooking up or hooking up with. So I think he may even called it the force, right? So an intelligence that's out there, the intelligence that makes my heart beat and I have nothing to do with it, the intelligence that makes the sun come out at the right time every day and I have nothing to do with it, the intelligence that says let's put a seed in the ground and it's always going to give apples, and it's never going to fail. There is an intelligence there. It's not, you cannot deny it. And so it is possible that there is a potential that we can hook up to that intelligence, and if we do, we can transmit it. In fact, it gets transmitted. It's not an option. And one of the exercises that we do in our classes that is not optional is an exercise playing with that, playing with what we call this transmission of our state of being into another body. And so Traeger work, you asked me about Traeger work. So Traeger work is a modality that dances in between somatics and body work, because in Traeger work there are actual moves where you go onto the table, and there's passive things that are happening with parts of the body, but there are also a lot of there's a lot of guided, self-guided, and guided by someone else, ways of engaging with gravity that pertain more specifically to the somatic experiencing type of therapy. So it's sort of like a dance in the middle with that, and yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Now I'm going to open up for any questions here. If anyone has questions, if that's okay with you, Fernando.
Sure. Yes.
And while we're waiting for people to maybe type in the chat, I'm curious I'm curious if anyone out there, whether it's listening to the recording or if you're listening now live, I think that we've all had an experience potentially where we've been around someone who is very present and very
Mhm.
there, and there's a difference palpably to them. And I've had friends of mine who have experienced, even people who have meditated for years and become very present and mindful, that there is a stronger presence to their being, and they're not actively trying to force that presence onto someone. There's
Mhm.
almost a passiveness to, and just an awareness and observing and being with you. And one of the things that I felt that still sticks with me from massage school was the director of our massage school, Nina Kotkamp. She said
Nina,
to us that,
Harrisburg.
yes, Hack,
Yes, I know her. Yeah, I teach
yes,
there every year.
yes. It's well, I'm biased, but it's my favorite school. Um,
It's a really
but
wonderful school.
she said that, being present in your sessions is the most important thing that you'll ever do in a session. And I completely agreed with her. So, yeah. So the question we have here so far, do you ever travel to Florida to teach somatic mindfulness?
Mm. I have had conversations with some people and with some schools there. There is no not traveling anywhere with this. It's just a matter of getting together a group of people that wanna do this. So, like, I'm gonna go to Arkansas for the first time in my life this year, Georgia next year, South Carolina, North Carolina. So there is no limitation. It's just a matter of putting together a group that want to receive this, and then I'll just go. But I guess the answer to the question is I haven't gone there yet to teach my somatic mindfulness.
Okay. The next question we have is, how has somatic mindfulness helped you personally?
Wow, that is a very important question, and so I like to think that I have at least an interest to stay um, mindful most of the time. I am an advocate of bringing mindfulness into action, right? So it is fine, it is wonderful, and this is a quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. It is wonderful to have a practice where you sit and you meditate, and you meditate for a certain time and so on. But there's plenty of opportunity to do it while you're doing the dishes, while you're walking, and so on. And so I have I have found that it is really beneficial to at least have the intention to be mindful in whichever way that you understand mindfulness to be, instead of trying to worry about what that means and then putting a burden on yourself that it should be in a particular way. And so I have found that if I am mindful and I pay attention, I can see how I change, and that's already big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
We have two other important questions. What will I experience as a licensed massage therapist if I attend one of your classes?
We are These classes are designed, or at least have the intention for a tangible takeaway to happen. And so experiencing this, and really being able to put into words something that you felt, is going to be really important. And so there will be theory that will be presented in language, but the most important thing is going to be to feel this and to see, and like I said before to you, off the air, is I often say, humor me, like, try this, and then let's just see what happens. And so you can expect to really get to understand the value of what this can do for you and for your practice, because you will have had experienced it early in the workshop.
Wonderful. The next question then is, are there more than one class that you offer? Is there more than one class that you offer? So we
Yes.
have one on the schedule that we have. Is there a series of classes, and how do they differ?
Yeah, I don't have them as a series. I have them as themes. So
Okay.
I don't have prerequisites. What we do is, um, so if when we engage with a part of the body in this way, this part of the body is going to become the best version of itself that it can be. And so I have four themes: connection, grounding, radiance, and expansion. And this is really a word to maybe describe the quality of, of the benefit that you will get when we engage with those parts of the body. So if I am engaging with the rib cage, and the shoulders, and the back, then maybe expansion, because the body is designed to, for the sternum to be looking towards the sky, and I don't have to force it to go there. I just need to talk to it, right? And so when we are in all of our different classes, since we can't just take all of the body in just 2 days, what I do is I focus more on certain parts of the body on different classes, but it's all the same principles. Basically, what we're doing is we're talking to the body, and so the parts of the body that we're talking to, they themselves will become the best version of themselves that they can be.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. We appreciate that. Well, is there anything else you want to share for tonight? I really appreciate you coming on, and this is wonderful conversation.
If you are a body worker, I just want to let you know that what you're doing is important. Keep doing it. It's going to, bring a lot of satisfaction to you, but it's definitely changing many lives and changing the world. And so hopefully, there's a lot of good that we can do with our hands, and keep on keep on doing it, please.
Thank you. And we'll put some information too for all of you in the show notes or in the description of this recording. If you want to learn more about Fernando and follow him, find him on his website and look for some of his upcoming classes and courses. You can go on there. And you can also look on Firefly Hollow Wellness's website for upcoming courses with Fernando as well. But we appreciate you guys all being here. Thank you again, Fernando. And be well until next time, my friends.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.